or C, two specific MPs in Westmoreland who one went on social media and hit out against the JPS loan, and one in Parliament yesterday who grilled the Minister of Finance about the prudence of this. Yet still, one of them on social media up to recently was crying crocodile tears in one and then fighting against it. I want to leave this with you. As usual, I like to go to my Oxford dictionary and I Google crocodile tears. Tears are expressions of sorrow that are insincere. The origin, mid-16th century, said to be named from a belief that crocodile wept while devouring or luring their prey. That is the one on social media. The one yesterday that called we're crying Parliament last week. We have a thing called dry cry. I looked it up and it said dry cry meaning in Jamaica. In Jamaican patois, dry cry often refers to pretending to cry or shedding fake tears to gain sympathy, attention, or manipulate a situation. It implies a false sense. It implies a false display of sadness without being genuine.
Hey guys, welcome to Carib 21 Network Saturday Night Live. So if it's your first time, Saturday Night Live is where we take the top stories of the week and we come on Saturday night and open the phone line to have a discussion on some of the top stories of the week that took place in the Caribbean. So today, the topic is about JPS and what is going on in Jamaica. So for the past 2 weeks now, the $150 million loan that the government loaned to JPS has been a hot button topic for the past 2 weeks, and we saw it on display again this week with the questioning from the opposition on the JPS, the Jamaican government loaning JPS $150 million. So the question is that $150 million money well spent by the Jamaican government? And I think the more important question for me that I don't hear people asking is that is the Jamaica Public Service, the private company that control 80% of the company, are they sabotaging the Jamaican government? So I think that is the more important question to ask. While we are focused on the government $150 million loan to the JPS, so that is what I wanted to discuss tonight, and just the whole conversation behind it. Is this being politicized by the opposition party? So it depends on which side you're on. You know, that would influence how you think this is. But I must say, you know, when this just came up and we saw Mark Golan came out 2 weeks ago and was questioning it, you know, I came out and I said, look, like, yes, that is the job of the opposition. You can't expect the opposition to sit down when the government is about to spend 150 million US. That's not Jamaican money. That's American dollars. So that's a lot of money. So no one would expect the opposition to just sit aside and to not ask valid questions. And I believe that the opposition leader, Mark Golan, came out last week and he asked some valid questions. But this week, what we saw took place, some of the questions from Damon Crawford and from Dayton Campbell, now it is at a level where this no longer looks like a concerned opposition about the finances of the taxpayers in Jamaica. This seems more like opposition trying to politicize this whole thing with JPS, and it just seemed like an opposition that is on the sideline looking at the government working and criticizing and not saying what they would do different. So that is the conversation tonight, and the phone lines are open, so you can feel free to call and to share your opinion on this one. Do you think that the opposition leader, the opposition party, the People's National Party, do you think that they're politicizing this JPS issue? What would they have done better? And is it the JPS, the Jamaica Public Service, a private company that's been managing JPS for 25 years? Are they sabotaging the Jamaican government? So, okay, so let me put out some information out there why I'm asking the question about the sabotage. So we know that the contract was signed. This contract was signed by the PJ Patterson administration, and it ran for 20 years. That 20 years is going to be up in 2027. The government, the current government, indicate that look, they are not going to re-sign this contract in terms of the same conditions that the contract was signed in. So that's the information. We are not going to renew this contract in the same condition, because if you are Jamaican, and especially for Jamaicans who are old enough that was born before 2000, 2001, around then when this contract was signed, and you knew what Jamaicans used to pay for electricity bills before compared to what they're paying now. Every single Jamaican I know, like from the poorest to the richest, like people uptown Cherry Garden, the entertainers, everybody's complaining about their electricity bill. And that has been going on for close to 25 years now. And that is what this contract with this company that is managing JPS. And the Jamaicans pay some of the highest electricity bill in the entire world. We in Jamaica pay double what they pay in Canada, in America. Don't even talk about the Caribbean. So Jamaica, the electricity bill there is not normal. So those are the facts. So now we saw Hurricane Melissa came, completely devastate Jamaica, and JPS wasn't spared. So the numbers that came out at first was 350 million US estimate for the infrastructure, to prepare all the infrastructure damage that was done to JPS. And they said to the energy minister, like, look, this 350 million US dollars, we are not going to be able to get a loan because we don't have a contract that extends beyond 2 years. And so they wanted either a 8 to 15 years extension on the contract, which the energy minister said, no, we cannot extend the contract under these conditions because Jamaicans have been suffering, and the government already pointed out and sold to the Jamaican people that, look, we are going to give you a break on your electricity bill in the next 2 years. So those are the facts. And so the only other alternative was for the government to loan the 150 million US dollars. And so that is where the opposition was asking the question, like, as I said, when Mark Golding came out last week, he asked all the right questions, but for this week, the questions that we're seeing from like a Dayton Campbell, and from a Dayton Campbell, those questions, you can clearly see that this is no longer about caring about the Jamaican taxpayers' money, but this is more about scoring political points. So let me just go through a few of what took place this week with the questioning from the People's National Party, the opposition.
Minister, the loan to JPS of approximately 23 billion Jamaican, is that in addition to the 45 million US dollars that they received from the self-insurance?
Yeah, remember the 150 million is a loan from the Ministry of Finance and, well, it's a loan from the government, you know, operationalized by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. In terms of their insurance payments, that question would have to be put to the respective ministry. I don't have the, I don't. Okay, from the OUR, it has nothing to do with the loan. It's separate from the loan.
So that is separate from the loan?
Yeah.
Okay, so all right. So in addition, all right. So the JPS loan that was given by the Ministry of Finance, do you have the current interest rate that was agreed to?
5.5%.
5.5%. Are we correct that the projected rate of borrowing that the government can achieve is approximately 12 to 15% projected?
I'm sorry, projected based on what? 12. Can you explain a little bit more?
Yeah, the documents that we have seen suggest that if the government was to borrow, the interest rates that they'll likely be able to achieve was approximately 12 to 15%. Is that correct?
Absolutely not. Significantly lower.
It will be significantly lower. Do you have an estimate of the rates that the government would be able to borrow?
The average rate, member, and if you look at our debt profile publication, you will see that it is in the single-digit range.
Yes, so can you give me a better understanding? Is it 3%, 7%, 8%?
So member, as you can imagine, our source of financing, there are different sources of financing. You have the commercial market, commercial market local, commercial market international. You have our international partners, and in each of those, the rate would be different. International partners, very low single digit. Domestic market, single digit as well. International market, single digit. So if you were to average that across the entire portfolio, it still comes back to a single digit number.
Madam.
Yes, so let me just pause here for a minute. So one of the problems I've been having since Hurricane Melissa, and I know this is tradition, this is something that's every administration have to deal with, but knowing that we just recently experienced the most catastrophic natural disaster in the history of Jamaica, that countries don't really recover from those disasters like overnight. This is something that take years and years. Like the crack that I'm seeing in our governance system now is when I'm looking at what is going on in Jamaica now with the back and forth between the opposition and the governing party, I just don't think it's appropriate for when people are still homeless, people are still trying to figure out, schools are in the devastated areas are not fully reopened. It just, the optics don't look good to see you watching what's going on in Parliament, and you see the back and forth, the argument. And that is why I believe that in times like this, when we have this type of crisis, I believe that it would be more effective if they whether dissolve Parliament or pause Parliament for an extended period, just say like 6 months to 1 year, and both the government and the opposition come together and work in the best interest of the Jamaican people. Because the optics look, the way how things are looking now, it's like the 35 Jamaica Labour Party MPs that people are calling the government, which, look, the government, to me, the government is every single member of parliament that were elected. All 63 of them form the government. Even though it's a JLP government, all 63 of them are elected officials, and I believe that it would serve the interests of the Jamaican people much better if all MPs come together, work together, brainstorm how do we help Jamaica get back on its feet instead of the back and forth in Parliament, because that is what it seemed like to me. It seemed, when you see like this, makes like a Damian Crawford look almost like insensitive, like grilling about the $150 million that the energy minister said, look, if we don't come up with this money, these people in Westmoreland, in Southeast St. James, in the 6 parishes that were completely devastated by Hurricane Melissa, a lot of those people are not going to get back energy for until, I think, June. He said the latest could be June. So that is just one thing I got out of this natural disaster, that I believe that it would have been better if, that's why I've been pushing for the joint select committee, because look, if 2 parties are working together, take a break from politics, take like a political like break and say like, okay, we are going to call a truce for like 6 months. Anything that we're doing during this process for the next 6 months, we're doing it as one body, not JLP, not PMP. We are Jamaicans and we're trying to help Jamaicans get back on their feet. I believe that would be more appropriate. But what we're seeing now, since Hurricane Melissa, since day 4, since the water didn't even dry up yet, and we saw the political back and forth, and I just think the optics of it don't look good. So let's continue.
Madam Minister, single digit can vary from 10 to 9. So I'm asking if you can give us a ballpark, a range of where the average interest rate would be.
All right, so member, just to direct you, there is a publication that's done. It's called our medium-term debt management strategy. This one goes from fiscal year 2025 to 2026 to fiscal year 2028-29, and it goes in great detail about the loan portfolio. And as I flip through the pages, you will note that, all right, so if we look at our domestic interest rate, it's about, all right, so member, it goes anywhere from a low of 3.3% to 8.5%, depending on the instrument and the market in which we borrow and the currency.
All right, so thank you, Minister. As it relates to the 3.6 billion US dollars, approximately, that's what, 500 billion Jamaican, is any portion of that to be in this supplementary budget?
Oh, none of that is in this fiscal year's
None of that is in this fiscal year. If I can go back to the 24 billion for JPS, how would that impact the liquidity and the ability to implement projects going forward this year into this budget?
How would that impact the government?
Yes, to do the housing, the water, the food packages, the removal of that 25 billion in a loan to JPS, how would that impact the budget's ability?
It does not. We have ample liquidity to manage what we, set out to do this fiscal year.
Okay. What's the estimated impact of this 3.6 billion on the debt to GDP ratio moving forward?
So, member, we're not gonna take everything.
Yes, so those 2 last questions from Damian Crawford is clearly when you see that this is not about the interests of the Jamaican people, and this is about politicizing this thing. This is about, because the thing is, I think it's almost like a gotcha moment because they're dealing with a finance minister that is not the same class as the previous finance minister. She's not aggressive, and sometimes it come across as if she don't know what she's saying. She's not as aggressive as the previous finance minister that she took over from. So I feel like, with Damian Crawford, with Dayton Campbell, they see this as a chance to pounce on her because they don't see her as strong as Nigel Clark. And the question, I don't have a problem with the question about the interest rate. Yes, that was a fair question. Are you going to be loaning JPS at a rate lower than what the government normally borrow from? So I don't have a problem with that. But the problem is now, the last two questions where it's asking, how is this going to impact the hurricane relief? And how is this going to impact the debt to GDP ratio? Those two questions, because the thing is, like, with these politicians, they can fool, some people sometime, but they can't fool all the people all the time, right? And for people who follow politics, for people who are educated where politics is concerned, they can't fool those people. Like, they can use this as gotcha moment or soundbite to feed into their political tribalism. So like their base can grab these and say, like, look how him done her, Damian Crawford done the finance minister and all that. But those people are not really educated on the topic, what we're talking about. So when you're talking about, remember, we just received almost $7 billion US that the government can draw down with the hurricane relief. So just think of taking 150 million out of that. That is like pocket change when it comes on to the $6.7 billion. So that question, I didn't see that question as very important or necessary because of the $6 billion that the government has to draw down. And we're not even in the rebuilding phase as yet. Like, I know the government, they are in the process of procurement for like some of the trailer container homes and stuff like that. But that $6.7 billion, we're nowhere close to being ready to spend that yet to build back roads, bridge, and to help to I'm sure Housing Trust, the NHT will have to get some of that to give out the grants for people to rebuild their homes. So that question wasn't necessary to me. And then when Damian Crawford is talking about the debt to GDP ratio now, these are the same people that told the Prime Minister that they were paying down the debt too fast. And I think you don't have to be a smart person, you don't have to be a genius to realize that, look, a country that experienced the most catastrophic natural disaster, that 40% of it wiped out 40% of their GDP, that is going to have an impact on the debt to GDP ratio. That is not rocket science. So I just don't think like this is either the time or the place for those questions. Yes, maybe ask it next year. I believe that the questions that should be asked now, or what the opposition should be doing right now, is to see, like Dayton Campbell, how can we work with the government to make sure that Westmoreland, Southeast Westmoreland, Southeast St. James, those areas that are affected, that the opposition members constituency, how can we work with the government to ensure that we get these people in shelter for now and to find permanent solution for them? Those are the questions, not debt to GDP ratio, when the 6 point, and not only that, they were the ones that were saying that the government should not be celebrating being able to get the loan so quick, which was another ridiculous thing for the opposition party to say. Because if something is wrong with your house get burned down, and you go to the bank, and the bank say, you know what, because of your good history, we're going to lend you the money to rebuild in record time. That is what happened with Jamaica, because being able to pay down the money at such a fast pace, it took them less than a month to be able to secure like almost $7 billion. And that should be celebrated. But the opposition, they kind of throw cold water on that when they were saying that, look, we got this money to rebuild. And now they're talking about debt to GDP ratio. So this is when, people, I know some reporters and other people are saying that, look, questions, we have to ask questions or whatever, but you can tell by the questions that the people are asking if this is really genuine, if this is really care about the recovery effort, if this is caring about how the Jamaican taxpayers' money is spent, or if this is just politicizing the whole situation. And most of the questions that I'm hearing from the opposition party, this is politicizing this whole thing. As I said, when Mark Golding came out, the first time they came out and asked about this, every single question that Mark Golding asked was questions that the opposition should ask. But now we saw the energy minister came out and explained, and now the questions turn from concern to like, okay, we're going to score political points on these questions. So let's continue and break it down.
On our books all at once. We will be very careful about the drawdown on these facilities that are available to us. As you can imagine, these facilities are to enable us to do big projects that would add to the GDP growth. These projects are going to be over 1, 2, maybe 3 fiscal year.
Yes.
So there will be a time frame over which these loans would be drawn down as the projects.
So
play
considering
themselves
so first question, did the Prime Minister misspoke when he said that over 3 years we'll be doing the drawdown? Did he misspeak?
The announcement, the headline announcement was 3 years
Yes.
from our international partners. But remember, it's going to depend on the pace of government.
So it might not be
Alright.
3 years.
It will depend on the pace of government.
Okay. So do we have any estimate based on different scenarios over 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, what will be the impact on the debt to GDP ratio?
Yes, so as this person said, Damien is trying to look bright, but this is just not looking good. Because, okay, like, you don't have to be a politician, you don't have to be like a genius to figure this out. This $6.7 billion loan from the World Bank, IMF, and the different international institutions that saw it fit to make that money available for Jamaica. Damian Crawford questioning right now would suggest that that money is in the government hands already. Like you get that loan right away, and right away it's going to impact the debt to GDP, how you pay back that money. And that lining up question from Damian Crawford. Damian Crawford is a smart person. Damian Crawford is not dumb, but he's asking dumb questions, because even the common person, you don't have to be a mathematic genius to know that, look, that money is there as a drawdown. The government probably didn't even touch that money yet. And the financial year, which I think ends somewhere in April, the government might not even get to that money before the end of the financial year, because people have to understand, when you when we're talking about fixing back Jamaica, we're talking about roads, we're talking about bridge, we're talking about all of those infrastructure, police stations, school. Those things don't just get up and get fixed overnight. I know that there's a process, procurement process. There's a process where they have to tender contracts to contractors and stuff like that. Those things take a while before you get to that point. And until you get to that point, the money is there. It's not like the loan, the $6.7 billion where it was transferred over to the Jamaican government. It's there. When the government need the money, the government will be able to draw down on it. Damien Crawford knows that. He's smart enough to know that. He's a politician to know that. But I think his line of question is trying to feed, as I said, the people on social media that don't understand how politics work, how the government work. They're going to grab onto these things and say, yeah, Damien Crawford, Donner. You know, that's what you see going online. Damien Crawford made the finance minister look like she dumber, you know. But Damien Crawford himself is looking dumb asking these questions because, you know, these are common sense questions, and that is why I don't like this. It's not looking good.
We've put forward, so in our fiscal policy paper memo, we have put out some estimates of
Yes.
where the debt to GDP is expected to be after we hit the 68.3%.
We were told that JPS required $350 million and that the government would be loaning $150 million. That is what we were told.
Absolutely.
Has that number been revised?
So the minister has indicated US 150 to restore by the end of January 2026.
So who's lying somewhere? Somebody not telling the truth. Somebody not telling the truth. Eh? Yeah. You can, I said, who's lying? I asked the question. You can decide whatever the answer is.
The minister, this is not as easy as just a soapbox moment. This is not a political soapbox moment to just say 150 and get back light. It's not. What we're talking about here is also the finances of the country. So I'm saying I need to know when JPS did their estimates, their assessment as to the damage from the devastating Category 5 hurricane, what is it that is required to restore electricity to all of the persons that were affected? That's what I need to know, because previously we were all of the impression that that was 350 million. Then we heard it being revised upwards to about 400 million. And now we are told that only 150 million is required to restore electricity to all affected persons.
All right, so member, please.
Yes, so this is another disingenuous moment from Dayton Campbell now. Because as I said, like everybody's watching what is going on, and people are smart people are smart enough to understand. And what the energy minister said, look, he gave the cost between 350 to 400 million US dollars to recover for full recovery. And JPS is asking of the government to loan them $150 million. So that would leave the balance of whether like $200 million or $250 million. So when Dayton Campbell sit there and trying to grill the finance minister and saying that it is not adding up because first they heard 4, then they heard 350, now they're saying 150. No, they understand what is going on. They are just putting this out there. This is gasoline on the fire for like those people on social media who want to go out there and say, yes, the government don't know what they're doing. Because it was clear from the energy minister that JPS said they needed the 350 and they discussed it in length. And the question was asked already, what's the timeline for the other 200? And the energy minister already answered and said they didn't ask JPS that. They are just concerned about getting back the power up. And JPS is a private owned company. JPS operate, the operators of JPS, they operate in other countries. They are billionaire investors. They can find the money from other sources, but the government knows that the agreement that they made was like, look, we are going to come up with the 150 million US dollars, and JPS will come up with the other 200. And Dayton Campbell knows that. But as I said, I believe that they see the finance minister as a weak link because she's very quiet. So they are pressuring her. And notice they don't want to pressure the energy minister the same way, because the energy minister is like a hothead and he will go back after them. But the finance minister, she's just sitting there and almost look weak. So they sense blood, like when shark sense blood and they're going after it. That is what they're doing in this moment. And that's why, as I said, this is just disingenuous. And if I was living in Dayton Campbell constituency and I'm find somewhere to go and watch TV and see him grilling the governing party so much about the money to get back the people of Westmoreland their energy, like I would not be happy with my member of parliament. Seem like he's saying to the government, this is not worth it. You're wasting your 150 million US, even though this is the difference between getting back light in January or June to July. And that is how I would feel if I was in one of those eras and have access to be able to watch this exchange in Parliament.
Put your questions to the Minister of Energy in the order, the parliamentary order, and he will respond at that time.
Not even you know.
Chair, just to follow up on that, It is an important question, because if 350 million is the figure that is required, and they have received 150, it would leave a shortfall of 200. Now, if JPS is currently in a predicament where the license that they have to operate, they currently have no guarantee beyond another 2 years, and their entire revenue that they will earn over those 2 years is less than the 200 million, then it would mean that some further assessment would need to be done prior to making a loan of 150 million US. It makes a whole heap of sense. Yes, they want light. Yes, they do. And
Yeah, so so trust me, these politicians are smarter than this. They're not fooling anyone. These politicians are smarter than this. And as I said, this is why this is just so disgusting to me, because this is just political mileage. You can't tell me that you are representing the people of Jamaica and can be so stupid. So I don't believe that these guys are stupid. They are smarter than this. Like anyone can figure. So okay, so 2 more years on the contract, and what Dayton Campbell is trying to tell the people of Jamaica is that JPS is not going to make back that amount of money to loan, to repay the loan. And look, the 25 years that they control Jamaica Energy, like the estimated amount of money that they have made is like in the trillions of dollars. They have like gouged the Jamaican people out of money. And people don't understand this thing, because this is more than just Hurricane Melissa and this thing now with this JPS. And that's why I am surprised that the opposition, they are going so hard on this one. It's almost as if the opposition is rooting for the JPS contract to be extended. That is how, on the outside looking in, I'm taking it. Like they are saying that, look, 2 years, they're not going to be able to pay back this money. Extend the contract, don't lend them the $150 million. That is what is coming across to me. And as I said, when you look, we don't even have to go out of the Caribbean. Jamaica paid the highest by far in the entire Caribbean. And since 2001, when this bill was signed, before 2001, we had some of the biggest companies coming out of Jamaica. We had Lasco, we had Grace, Digicel, like you name it. We have some big giant companies coming out of Lasco. Since 2001, with this JPS contract, Jamaica haven't seen any giant companies coming out of Jamaica since then. And when you look at companies like Grace Kennedy and some of the other companies, what people don't realize, like I was in the supermarket in Tree a few months ago, and I went in, and my daughter and I went in and we buy some banana chips and some Grace banana chips and some other banana chips. And my daughter ended up looking at it and said, oh, it's not from Jamaica, it's from like I think it was El Salvador, Guatemala, somewhere, like made in El Salvador, packaged in Jamaica. That is what's been happening in Jamaica for the past 21 years since we have this JPS contract. Most of the manufacturing in Jamaica is shipped away. Like when you go and you buy like a Grace coconut water, look at the label, look at the things. When you go in the supermarket in Jamaica and you see all of the proud Jamaican products with the flags on them, look on them. They're not made in Jamaica. And that is because Jamaica have the highest energy bill anywhere in the Caribbean. And I think this is something like top 5 in the entire world. And this company has made a killing of the Jamaican people. And when the energy minister came out the first time, like I don't have an MBA in business. I'm not a scholar. But when the energy minister came out and explained, the first thing I said, even before the energy minister came and updated us, the first thing I said, you know what? This $150 million US dollars, spend the money, make sure that the Jamaican people have their light, make sure that businesses are up and running, the bars, the restaurant, the shops in Westmoreland, in Southeast St. James, all of those areas. People go back to work and worry about the money later. And the first thing I said is that, look, the worst case scenario, if JPS cannot pay back this $150 million, Jamaica government 20% stake in the company could easily become 40% with that $150 million, easily. And I don't think the Jamaican government should go back into the new agreement that the Jamaican government is going to sign, have to be 50% to 51%. Because the thing is, governments, and that is why most government in the Caribbean own their own energy company or have like a more of a stake in the energy company. Because the companies, private companies that are operating JPS, they don't see people, they don't see households, they see numbers. And for anybody that involved with anything to do with business, business don't see people, they see numbers, they see figures. So they're not looking at, they don't care about you can't pay your light bill and your light bill cut off. They don't care about your daughter or your son studying in the night and they don't have light to study. They just see numbers. They see their shareholders that want a big return on their money. The beauty about it when and why governments should control these things, and all over the world, government control the energy companies or have a higher stake in it, is because the government, if the Jamaican government have a 51% stock in JPS, the Jamaican government main objective owning a 51% in JPS is not to make profit off the people of Jamaica, but is to make sure that the people of Jamaica have affordable light bill, to make sure that manufacturing can thrive with low energy. But when you have private enterprise owning these companies, they don't care about that. And that is why, as I said, look at your Jamaican, your favorite Jamaican package, and you will see made in Honduras, made in Guatemala, made in all of these countries. My favorite coconut water, Grace. I used to brag about Grace coconut water. Like everybody, like I would say, I like, yo, Grace are the best in the world. And then until I look at it and say, like, oh, in Thailand, not even from Jamaica, best in the world. And that's what I used to say. Grace coconut water, the best in the world. Only in Jamaica you can find them good flavor coconut here. No, coconut is not even from Jamaica, from Thailand. So, you know, when they sit there, I believe that they're shooting themselves in the foot. Because as I said, if I'm in Dayton Campbell constituency and I see them out there pushing the energy minister and the finance minister like this, I'll be thinking like, oh, so you don't want me to get back light? Or what's up? You know, that is what I'm thinking. So I don't know, but they continue to ask these crazy questions. And as I said, I believe that this is them politicizing the whole issue. And sometimes when you do that, it end up backfiring. And to me, this is backfiring because especially Dayton Campbell, like I spoke to someone and they said like, James, like 80 to 90% of the polls are down in Westmoreland underground. Just imagine that 80%. And I've been through Gilbert, I've been through Ivan, Gilbert, you know, in Kingston, two addresses in Kingston. One of them take like 6 months and one of them take 1 year to restore energy. In Gilbert, Ivan took like about 5 to 6 months. And this Hurricane Melissa, the most catastrophic disaster in the history of Jamaica, 80 to 90% of JPS polls are underground in Westmoreland. And one of the MP from Westmoreland is like questioning this. That don't make any sense.
That's why we need to know how much to give them light.
Member,
We need to know how much to give them the light that they need.
Member, hold on, member. The JPS is not a government entity. It is not a ministry agency or department of government. Hold on.
I'm holding.
And so, member, while you can ask questions as it relates to what is in the budget and the supplementary estimate, to ask how a business plans to be able to finance and execute.
I wasn't asking that.
The remainder of the money needed to restore us.
No.
To restore us of the Minister of Finance would not be appropriate at this place and stage.
Madam Chair, you are accusing me of something that I did not do or I did not say. Hold on. My concern is that my government, yes, is lending from taxpayers' money 150 million US to JPS. I need to know, right, if that is a wise financial transaction that my government is undertaking. I have a right to know that. The answer to that question is not just that the people want light. The answer to that question is not just that the people want light. Right? No. If it is that they require 350 and their license only has 2 more years on it, then any prudent individual is going to think twice before they lend them the money because they have no guarantee to continue operating.
Yeah, this is just as dumb as it can get. Trust me, this is as dumb as it can get. The JPS asset is way more than the money that they're going to be borrowing from the government. As I said, the JPS, the private companies that have been operating, because from what I know, the history of this company, when it went private in 2001 under the PJ Patterson administration, from what I heard, the original company that signed the contract, they were in it for a short period of time and they made a killing. And hello?
Hello?
Hello, hello.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, man. Good night. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, man. Fine. Thank you, man. I'm just here scrolling through my YouTube and I see that you're having a live going on. So I said, let me just give you a shout because the topic of discussion seems to have piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Because this, when I listen to these people who call themselves the representative of people and how their approach to this whole GPS matter, it makes me ask. I mean, make me think. What's their priority? Is it about their grandstanding
Mm-hmm.
and this political one-upmanship, or it's about representing the people who put them there? Because I mean, how stupid can these people get? A Category 5 hurricane hitting Jamaica, and historically has been one of the most horrifying hurricane to hit the Western Hemisphere. And these people sit down in Parliament talking crap about the government lending taxpayers' money to JPS. The government is not giving it to them. It is and it's lending to them at an interest rate of 5%. So let's say, I mean, worst case scenario, JPS is unable to pay back the money. JPS is a private company with assets in Jamaica on the ground.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's the deal? Because I mean, it's like what I'm seeing, and I said this to somebody the other night. It's like these people, their objective is to, if they can bring down the prime minister, then they will bring down the country and stand up on the ashes and celebrate.
Yeah,
Because
that is what I was telling I was saying since the hurricane, I told several people, just imagine you're on the Titanic and you're praying for the captain to run into the iceberg, even though you know it's going to go down with you. That is how they sound. They want the country to sink, even though it's going to sink with them.
Yeah, because I mean, it's for them. As long as they are not the ones who are the wheel when the sinking happened, then they think that will give them they will come out looking the better ones, not realizing that the country is everyone. It's in the best interest of everyone that the country does well. Because I mean, Jamaica, we depend on the power to run our industries of the country. The engine of the country requires power. Would you rather sit there with the money in the NIR and say you can supply the country with food for what, 6 months or 6 weeks, but you don't have any power? So what is going to happen in the long run? So the government, I love the stand that the government take, lend JPS the money on the condition that they will restore electricity to their customer latest the end of January 2026. If that condition is not, if they don't meet that deadline, then there should be some penalty in terms of the money that is being loaned, because that would have been the condition on which they borrow the money. The other 200 million or whatever amount they need, that's not the government's business.
Yeah.
They are a private company, and as you said earlier, with investors and shareholders who are billionaires.
Billionaires, yeah.
So they should be able to come up with the remainder of that money. What the government wants to see at the end of January, that the consumers and the customer of JPS, their power is restored.
Yeah, but I believe the loan itself is a sabotage. That's my personal belief. I believe that the loan, they don't need the loan, because as I said, these companies, they don't operate. It's not just a company that operate in Jamaica. They have sister company in different countries across the world. Because when you sign this contract, you're not signing something. You're not an entry level business. you're operating in other countries, operating electricity grid in other countries. So you have the experience. The Jamaican government is not just going to hand over the management of Jamaica electricity to a company that enter in the business. So I'm sure if you research them, they're operating in several different countries. They have the money. But I believe that this was a sabotage in terms of like give the government an ultimatum, because when Daryl Voss came out and said this 150 million US dollars, it's either that or a 8 to 15 years extension. I knew it. Like even before Daryl Voss said it out of his mouth, I knew that something like that was happening behind the scene. They want to extend it because look, extend it for 15 years, they are going to make a killing out of the Jamaican people. If Jamaican people thought they saw a high electricity bill yet, 15 more years of this company, like couldn't survive it. So when you see like Dayton Campbell, as I said, in one of the worst hit parish in Jamaica, if I'm anywhere from that parish, because I'm talking to someone I spoke to someone from Westmoreland, and they said like 80%, 80 to 90% of the poles, when they're driving, they're just on the ground. And I'm saying to that person, your member of parliament is fighting the government decision to lend the 150 million US dollars that's going to ensure that 300 linesmen will be in Westmoreland by next week because of that money. And that is what Dayton Campbell is fighting. So I don't get it.
And to add to that too, and as they said, it's either the 150 million or an extension of 15 years contract.
Yeah, Jamaica.
Hello?
Yeah, Jamaica can't deal with 15 more years at JPS. Trust me, they can't deal with 15 more years. And I said it earlier, like, because before 2001, I remember after Gilbert, you had quite a few companies came around in the 90s. You had Digicel. Digicel was one of the company that came into Jamaica and bring Jamaica to a different level, provide high-paying jobs in Jamaica for Jamaican people, skilled jobs. Grace Kennedy was there. The D&G group of company, Lasco started getting popular after Gilbert. All of these companies were able to grow because at the time we had the agreement with Venezuela, where we're getting more affordable oil, the Petro-Caribbean program. We had that program. We had low electricity bill in Jamaica at that time, and those companies were able to grow. And when I go to the supermarket now and I buy a Jamaican banana chips and see made in Guatemala but packaged in Jamaica, that is a result because of our electricity bill. So no, we can't manage 8 to 15 more years of this.
And the thing is that you see, one of the monopoly, because they have a monopoly, you know, because in terms of transmission of the electricity, they have that down pat. Because for another company to come in and put in those kind of infrastructure, they know it's gonna cost a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, they understand the position that they have, and they are holding the government at ransom for that. Understand? But the government has to put down its foot, because you recall when at one point they were talking about cheaper energy, that electricity bill could go down, and one of the things that they had mentioned was natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the natural gas come online, but we don't see any reduction in the cost of the electricity.
Yeah.
So the government has to do what the government has to do, and the choice the government make is in the best interest of the country, in terms of its citizens, and in terms of production.
Yeah, because the thing is that is one of the single worst thing PJ Patterson ever did in his administration, was sign this agreement. You know, like I give PJ Patterson credit for chopping the cable and wireless deal. When cable and wireless had people were born back in the 90s, who are around back in the 90s, remember when cell phone just came around, there was no Digicel. And back in those days, if you have your girlfriend or whatever, you have to call her and say, "Come now," or call her back or whatever. You can't dip on the phone for more than 2 minutes. And then PJ Patterson end that monopoly, brought in Digicel, and people, Jamaicans, felt like they were spoiled. You could have talked on your phone for 10 minutes now, instead of call somebody and say, "Call me back," or "Come meet me this," or whatever, because phone bills, people don't understand, phone bills were crazy expensive.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Back in
Because
those
remember,
days.
even when they came in with the cell phone.
Yeah.
Remember, if you call me, I'm paying for the call.
Yeah.
And you are paying for the call.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that PJ did that I gave him praise for, like ending the cable and wireless monopoly, because they made a killing out of the entire Caribbean. And when Digicel came in and leveled the playing field, and that is what competition do, right? Competition give you a cheaper thing, but now he went and signed this monopoly with this private owned company, and since then Jamaicans are suffering with less to bill.
But you would understand why the PMP, I think, would be more sympathetic to JPS, because it was them who gave them this power over the Jamaican people.
Yeah, but politically, that's why I said that I feel like I don't think the PMP party that we're seeing now, I don't believe that this is a PMP party. Like, Michael Manley probably has spinning on them grave like 10 times right now. This is not, because one thing, nobody can say Michael Manley didn't care about people. Michael Manley care about the poor people. Michael Manley care about women. Michael Manley care about a lot of the stuff that Michael Manley did, like implementation of minimum wage, Michael Manley maternity leave, NHT. A lot of those stuff that Michael Manley did was to benefit and to elevate people out of poverty. The Bastard Act, family court, a lot of those things that Michael Manley did. This is not the Michael Manley PMP. This is a different level of beast. They don't care about people. They don't care about people, because you cannot be fighting. You cannot be sitting down like you see Dayton Campbell now sitting down. You just look stupid, like pushing back on this.
And let me tell you something. I thought about this, and this is my conclusion. If they were in power, they would not think twice in giving JPS, and probably would give them more than $150 million.
Yeah, but the thing is though, like, I understand politics, but sometimes that's why I said to myself, the People's National Party, they need advisors. They probably need international advisors, like Jamaicans in the diaspora in other places. So, like, when they're going to say something, just call a meeting and say, "Is this okay to say this?" Because this is one thing they should not be fighting. They need advisors, because this, to me, you're going to look insensitive. You're not going to win this one with the JPS. And right now, what I saw from Damian Crawford, because I know Damian Crawford is smarter than that. What I saw from Damian Crawford and Dayton Campbell, they are just scoring their own goal. That is what they're doing.
Hey, and before you go, one of the things is that you remember, and they're not learning. They don't learn from the past experience. You remember this? It was the same approach they took towards the crime and the states of emergency.
Yeah.
And they pay the political price for it, and they are going down the same path, and they're not learning. So let's see how it goes, because no power. If there's no power, and remember now, Westmoreland is one of those. Their income is sugar used to be their number one resources, but now it's tourism.
Yeah, but
especially the West. And if they're saying, though, it's like you're saying, don't give JPS the money. So what is going to happen to your constituents? And gas is not cheap for people to be running generator. How people are going to survive.
Yeah,
I think they have.
That's the next thing. I spoke to someone in Mandeville, and they got a generator and they run it for 3 hours, $3,000. $3,000.
Okay.
Yeah, $3,000. So you can't. So yeah, I don't know how this, because the thing is they are making, because Jamaica need a good opposition. Like every Jamaican should want the People's National Party to be strong, but right now they're showing a lot of weakness, because the thing is, like, I believe, because I said from the hurricane hit, I said the first thing I said is that the People's National Party should not politicize this, because the hurricane itself is a hit to the Jamaica Labour Party, and the hurricane itself will be beneficial in the long run to the People's National Party. And I remind people of 1988 when Gilbert hit and the election run and Siaga get wiped out. And Gilbert played a part in that too, because people are impatient, and when they see the light don't come back, they blame the government. So I believe that if the People's National Party, Mark Golding and all of them, if they just say, you know what, we are going to do the joint select committee, we are going to, Dayton Campbell, it would be in his best interest to work with the government to get boots on the ground from the JDF, coordinate to make sure that his community have food, instead of standing one side and say, oh, no food not there, no food not there, and just complaining. If they had worked with the government, it would have been better for them, because this hurricane is beneficial to them, because everything that the Prime Minister ran on is not going to be able to increase minimum wage to 32,000. That is not possible anymore with this billions of dollars that they are going to have to rebuild. He's not going to be able to do a lot of things. Education, I believe, possible take another hit, because we got a hit after COVID. Education is possibly going to take another hit. So all they had to do was just cooperate with the government, take care of their constituencies, make sure that the people have food, and make sure that they're working with the government to make sure the people have shelter. And then 2 years from now, them can start go after the GLP and say, like, oh, I think you say they're going to increase minimum wage to 32,000, increase it. It's too early for that, but that is what they're doing now. And I believe it's going to backfire in the long run.
Hey, one of the things as you're talking to me, I was thinking, first and foremost, we do not have an opposition party. We have an obstructionist group of people. That's all that's their agenda, to be obstructionists. They're not opposition. The next thing what they need to understand, this leader is not Edward Siaga. Because if you notice Andrew's style of politics, what you would have done, you would have taken a piece of every one of the leaders before him, his predecessors.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, he designed a way in which he's going to lead this country. Because when you look at you see some of the Michael Manley attitude in Andrew.
Yep.
You see some of the Siaga attitude in him. You see some of the PJ attitude in him. You see some of the Portia attitude in him. You see some of the Bruce attitude in him. So this man is an astute politician.
I'm happy.
Yes, he's going to take that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy you point that out, because one thing people don't realize, and I believe that, I think he's probably going to go down as the greatest prime minister. And I believe what you said is the perfect example, and that will contribute to if he goes down as the greatest prime minister. Probably in the Caribbean, I think the only person would be in front of him now is Eric Williams, Trinidad and Tobago. But I think he could go down as a great, because one example, JUTC, I guarantee you, because I knew Siaga personally. Siaga was one of the few politicians that I knew very close. Edward Siaga would not be doing what Andrew Onis is doing now. When you look at JUTC, and you see now they have a luxury bus running from Kingston to Mandeville with air conditioning and TV and free Wi-Fi and stuff like that. JUTC is a PJ Patterson legacy. In the Jamaica that I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s, I'm used to the JLP start something and the PMP come in and them just garbage it. The PMP do something, and when the GLP come in, they just garbage it. But what we're seeing this Prime Minister do with JUTC, with NHT, JUTC, PJ Patterson legacy, NHT, Michael Manley legacy, and he's continuing them and strengthening them.
Yes. Yeah.
So he's smart.
Even you notice in the social the program was giving houses to people.
Yeah.
I mean, what else could you can just imagine how many of those families who didn't have to go to shelter because they had a solid concrete structure to live in. So let them stay there and play around, because Andrew is doing what Andrew has to do. You notice when Mark came into the parliament and says you need to form a joint committee so that in order to move forward. He did not resist it. He went ahead and he did it as the leader. Because he did not have to do it, But as the leader, he's saying, look here is the olive branch. Let us do this for the country, not for party, but for the country. And then what we see happen. You hear, no, they're not going to do it because X, Y, and Z and all of that. And then no, so everything the government put forward, they don't oppose, but they obstruct.
Yeah, because the thing too, like even okay, so even all the misinformation that came out earlier about people not getting food and people and the artists them are doing more than people, and I'm sitting down, I'm like, I'm not a journalist, I'm not and when I see someone like Damien Crawford that I have a lot of respect for, and Damien Crawford in Parliament saying that the Jamaican people are not getting enough help from the government because we see it on social media. And I'm like, really, Damon? You are going to look at social media to get your information? When, because the thing is, what people don't understand, when you try to bring down the government and say the government is not doing anything, those 2,500 JDF workers who are working 12-hour, 16-hour shift, in some of the worst areas, when they go home and they hear people that, oh, no food no drop off of Westmoreland, no food no there, Black River, no food no there, so like, they're the ones that out there doing the work. They're the hands and feet of the government, right?
Of course, but also, we are right. So we're supposed to have an opposition, right? So what we see after the hurricane, opposition decide that they are going to have their own relief website. Does anybody know what are the donations, how much money has they collected, and where is that money going?
That shouldn't even be allowed to, because right after the election, you can easily accuse them of using that money to pay down their debt.
Exactly.
You can easily accuse them of that.
Where is the Integrity Commission? I don't hear anything coming from the Integrity Commission. Where are the civil groups in Jamaica? Nothing coming from them. No minute-to-minute audit of what money they collect or what donation they get, where it is going and how it is being spent. Why are we seeing a double standard?
I think the worst thing happened to the People's National Party was, I think Damien Crawford, and I can see his body language because I know Damien Crawford, and Damien Crawford body language is telling me that he's regretting what he did when he support Mark Golan. Because I honestly believe that if Damien Crawford supported Lisa Anna, I believe that Lisa Anna would have won, and Damien Crawford and Lisa Anna could have worked together. Because in one of the leak voice note where Damien Crawford admit and say, like, look, they are more of the People's National Party type of politician than, say, like a Mark Golan and a Bunting. And Damien Crawford in that leak thing said, like, him not trust Bunting at all. Him not believe anything what Bunting said. Like, anything from Bunting. And he still sided with Mark Golan only because he was looking at Lisa Anna's age and saying that Lisa Anna, if him support Lisa Anna now, Lisa Anna is going to be the leader, and then it go infringe on his opportunity. But now he support Mark Golan, and they push him to the side. No, Damon Crawford has no opportunity, no chance whatsoever of ever being the leader of the People's National Party because of who he chose to support. And I believe that that was the downfall of the People's National Party. And the only way they can come back is if what happened with Siaga and Bruce Golding when Bruce Golding leave and go form his own party.
The NDM.
The NDM. And Siaga came to his senses and tell him to come home. If I don't think the PNP have that power, I don't think they have that mindset, but the only way they can ever win a next election anytime soon is if them come to them sense and tell Lisa to come back, because Mark Golding is not a PNP. Mark Golding is not a good politician. Mark Golding is not believable. When you look at Mark Golding is spend most of his time trying to convince people, say, I'm a Jamaican, him love reggae music, him used to go down a trench town, him used to do this, him used to do that. That is what, and people don't believe him, and that's why you have to be convincing people, because he's not believable. You know, like, it's not because of his color. Like Edward Siaga, people love Edward Siaga and he was white. People love Michael Manley and he was white, and they were more believable, but people don't believe Mark Golding. And the first thing in order to be a good leader, you can't be a good leader if the people that you're leading don't believe you. They don't believe him.
Exactly. And I think Mark Golding coming to the PNP and assuming the leadership, is all about just to get their hands, especially he and Peter Bunting, just to get their hands on the kitty. And the reason why they did not like Portia, because Portia did not make him Minister of Finance. So they fight against Portia, they fight against Dr. Peter Phillips, and they do everything. And you realize what they do, they destroy the party in order to get to the leadership. And it's the same approach you're taking to the country.
Yeah.
Anything that will get them to be the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, because Mark Golding would be the Prime Minister, Peter Bunting would be Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. So that's what their aim was. And concerning Damien Crawford, I think Damien Crawford just threw his hat in the ring, buried the hatchet, just that if just per chance they would have won the election. Because a lot of the seats that they won back, the people, I think they got. They remember they were saying that forget what happened and just let us come together and win the election. Dayton Campbell, remember the majority of the people were saying that they didn't want him, and then PJ at the last minute come out and says must give him a chance and see what is happening. So a lot of them, the PNP now are having voters remorse because they thought Mark Golding would have took them to victory. It didn't happen. And so it's basically they're back at square. People are now digging up at the hatchet because they're going to be going back at it again. Mark Golding will never ever be Prime Minister of Jamaica. You cannot have the slave, the descendants of the slave coming back to lead those who his foreparents enslaved. When you have one of the slave, one of the descendants of the slave came off the plantation and is now in the house and is in charge of the house. What do you think? Do you think the people of Jamaica are going to choose a slave master over one of their own? No. And the thing is that with this Prime Minister, he has the Jamaican people's interest at heart.
No. Yeah, I wouldn't even go as far as that. I just don't think he's believable. I just don't think Mark Golding is believable. He doesn't have anything that. We're in a different level of politics right now. Mark Golding probably would have had a better chance in the 80s, but not in 2025. We're in the Obama era now, where you have to be charismatic, you have to be believable, and that is what Andrew Onisab is. He's charismatic, he's believable, like he connect with the people, and that is what Mark don't possess any of those things. So.
And just a follow up on that, not those two are important, but people need to see achievements. because too long as Jamaicans we are used to getting the promises, and every time it's just promises and excuses. But now we see someone who is actually doing what they say that they are going to do, and so that is another thing that he has over a lot of them. They can come with their promises, but he will come and says, okay, this is what I say I will do. This is what I say. You remember one time during campaign, health, education, and security was always one of the three of the major topics of for discussion. You realize this last election campaign season, we didn't hear anything about crime anymore.
Yeah.
We didn't hear anything about health.
Yeah, and the thing is, because if you ask me last year September, like, would I vote for Andrew Onis or would I support him? Like, I would say hell no. Like, if you ask me, trust me, if you ask me last September, because some of the stuff that I didn't agree with the increase, with all the politicians getting so much increase. I didn't agree with that. The Integrity Commission thing was kind of a lot last year. But then this year, what changed my mind this year, because I remember about 20 years ago when I left Jamaica and I went to live in Bermuda, and I saw how Bermuda was a small, tiny island, didn't have any natural resources, but they were top 5 richest country in the world. And as a Jamaican, I'm like sitting down and I'm saying, how is this possible? We have bauxite, we have this, we have that, and we're just like in poverty. And I remember saying at the time, any prime minister that can bring down the crime rate was one of them for me. Unemployment rate, if you can bring down the crime rate, the unemployment rate, and if you can fix the broken system, because Jamaica still is one of the few countries in the world that have a 50% informal sector. Jamaica and Zimbabwe, Haiti, 50%. So 50% of Jamaicans are not paying tax. A lot of the people that you see are devastated by the hurricane and the government's going to help them. A lot of those people don't pay like income tax and all of those type of things. And that's why Edward Seaga brought in the sales tax at the time, because if they didn't bring in the sales tax, the country would crash, because half of Jamaica don't pay income tax and stuff like So when I saw that the prime minister did both of those two things, I'm like, yeah, you have to give him credit. You know, you have to give him credit.
Hey, and this may take us down another path regarding you're making the comparison between a Bermuda and a Jamaica. But do you realize, you see, because I'm talking to you now, and I'm now residing in Turks and Caicos, which is a British overseas territory.
Yeah, I know.
And the currency here is they use the US dollars, right? So Bermuda also use the US?
Their dollar is tied into the US. They have their own currency, but it's tied in.
Right, and then the other one that is closest would have been the Cayman Islands, which its currency is higher than the United States dollars. The reason why I made mention of these three countries, if you notice, the population small, still a British overseas territory, which give them an advantage. If you notice, I use these two countries all the time, Guyana and Jamaica, former British colonies. But there's something I noticed. The Guyanese dollars right now is running like about 200 plus for one US. The Jamaican dollar is on its way there. But what these two countries have what they have in common is that they have a lot of natural resources. And I keep asking myself, why is it that these countries have natural resources that could put those countries into first world status, yet their dollar is so weak? And the only conclusion I come to is that this is how they take advantage of these countries. You depreciate their dollars so that their natural resources, you get it for penny on the dollar. And then what you do when you send back the value added product to them, it is going to cost them 3 or 4 times the amount that you pay for their natural resources. So this is this disadvantage that the countries have because the natural resources is not benefiting the people.
Yeah.
But it is benefit those who come in and take your resources and then go add value to it, and they maintain their first world status and their high standard of living.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. And that's why even some people say, like, you know, I heard someone say the worst thing that can happen to you as a third world country or developing country is to find natural resources, whether you're Caribbean or Africa. Once you find some natural resources, it is something that you're going to regret. It's sad.
Yeah, man. The system is designed that way because the system is designed to keep you that way, you know. And one other country I forget to mention, which is considered the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, which is Haiti. Remember, you know, when you look at Haiti's history, 1804, Haiti defeated the world's greatest army.
Yeah.
And declared their independence. What happened after that? France declared war against them.
Mm-hmm.
They had to pay France reparation, which amount to billions of dollars. And not only that, but I think it was a Woodrow presidency that they sent the Navy into Haiti and seize all of Haiti's gold and take it to the United States.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you notice, all of these countries that have natural resources, they are not allowed to develop their country and to nationalize. Because whenever things are nationalize it, then that's when you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah,
and that's
thing is the same thing to DR Congo, the Republic of Congo.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have the most natural resources in the world and the poorest country in the world. So
exactly. Yeah. More and then DC and then what they do, they turn around and tell you that they're giving you aid. You're taking all of the natural resources of my country, billions of dollars in gold and whatever. Name the minerals, and they tell you you're giving me aid. How does it make sense?
Yeah.
So Jamaica, as Jamaicans, we have to understand one thing. Depending on others to take care of you, it's not going to work. We're going to have to sit down as a people, come together, and decide that we're going to be building our country. Irma presents us an opportunity for us to build back this country and build it in such a way that it will benefit the people of the country. Because right now, who in Jamaica know who don't have a job is who don't want to work.
Yeah, that's true. People don't believe that, but that's true. Like the thing is, one of the things when I was 16 years old and decided to go work at hotel, like people used to say like, yo, you go feed white people like you are, you know, servitude type of thing. And them people that say like, I prefer stay home than go serve white man food and them something there because you look like, you know, like a slave or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'll go work. And yeah, like my job give me the opportunity to go anywhere in the world I wanted to go. So, you know, like there are a lot of Jamaicans who are on a cruise, a lot of Jamaicans in Dubai, Saudi Arabia, because of the same type of job where you go serve people food, you know, and
exactly.
And Jamaicans know, and at the time when I just started working at 15, I could just work and take the bus and eat lunch. But, you know, elders used to say, look, it better you go to work and you know no money at the end of the week than stay home because they will find work for idle hands. And there's a lot of jobs in Jamaica, like hotel work don't take any great level of education. You just have to be polite and think. Farming is there, like a lot of stuff. Anybody construction, when you see Chinese people in Jamaica lay black, you know there's something wrong. So a lot of people depending on the government to take care of them. And I believe that if everybody get up and decide that them want to go find a work, you don't need no great level of education for to lay some block. And construction is booming. Right now we have 3 projects in Jamaica that is over $1 billion each. Where else in the Caribbean you go find that? 3 projects over $1 billion each per project going on in Jamaica as we speak, and people are gonna say them can't find work, you know. Yeah.
Hey, my friend, one of the thing I say to people, and I remember I spoke to this teacher friend of mine, because I do welding, and one of the things he said to me, one of the regrets he have that he didn't learn a skill. I have nothing against higher education, but in getting your higher education, get yourself a skill.
Yeah.
Get yourself a skill anywhere you go over the world. There are certain skills that are required, even though they are upgrading to computerized, to automation and all of that. Yes, certain skills, no computer can replace it. And you still need a human element in there.
Yeah,
So
government,
even if you're going to the university, get yourself a skill.
yeah, the government mess up with that though, because when we were in school, we used to when I was in what grade, like 5 or 6, we had to do woodwork where we have to learn to make picture frame and stuff like that. And you used to have the technical school like Kias and Ozema, some of those technical school.
And the thing there too, and the technical schools, that was a great initiative. That should have been there should be one of that in every parish.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to do we used to go 4-H club and all these type of stuff. Those things would have pushed Jamaica forward, like food processing. Food processing should be one of the biggest thing in Jamaica right now, because the thing is, sometimes the farmers them throw away a whole heap of things where if they had the skills to process stuff, nothing would waste in Jamaica.
Hey, because I mean, we're talking about because your human capital, that is the greatest asset any country have. You realize when I do watch some internet or some TikTok, there's one thing that keep recurring. The invention of different things. You realize which country it is coming out of nowadays?
Which country?
China.
Yeah, China have been doing things for a long time. Yeah.
The reason why this thing catches my attention, because when we were growing up, remember, everybody wants something that was made in America.
But
and if it's made in America, everybody wants, because it was the best quality things you're going to get. But nowadays, what we see happening in these countries is that the agenda that they are pushing has nothing to do with the development of the country or the development of the mind of the young people. And because take for example Jamaica. Remember back in the 80s with the free zone and all of that.
Yeah.
Most of these things when they left Jamaica, where they went?
Yeah, America.
Yeah, because remember the American companies to send the products down there to be made, and then they were stamped and sent back to the United States.
Yeah,
but then we decided that we don't want any free zone anymore, and so they are shipped out. And I think at one point they went to the DR, and then from the DR, I think to Mexico, and then from Mexico to China.
Yeah.
And you see what's happening, what's happened to the world today. Everything you take up and you look at it, it says made in China.
Yeah, because I used to live
made in China.
I used to live close to Free Zone. I used to live in the 3 Mile area, and Free Zone probably had about over 100,000 people working at Free Zone. When the shift let over, Free Zone is like, like a country. But one of the thing with, because what people don't understand is it's the whole capitalism thing too caused that, because a lot of those companies, they went for cheaper jobs in China, because a lot of everything that you saw that was in Free Zone, they made the stuff there and then they sent it to America and put made in America on it. But it was made in Free Zone. Like Augustown, we used to have, Augustown, we used to have a glass factory, plastic factory. So everything that you saw made in the dollar store, they used to make that in Augustown, back in the 70s and the 80s. So Jamaica lose a lot of those jobs to China. And one of the things with Free Zone too, we used to see, like, people used to go to Free Zone maga and come out fat. Like a man who put on 5 jeans and come out on that. So yes, we help mash up Free Zone and mash up Jamaica.
Hey, look here, man. I can recall. I mean, from the history of Jamaica, Jamaica could be considered back in the days as the industrial capital of the Caribbean, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Jamaica, everything used to be manufactured in Jamaica. Steel, glass, salt, steel. Well, look, I mean, name it, and Jamaica made, and it was made in Jamaica.
Because when
look at where we are. Look at where we are now. Our import bill is higher than our export bill.
Yeah, but the thing is, when the prime minister, when they said like Jamaica can be the next Singapore, a lot of people look at that and think it's impossible. But like I've been saying this for over 20 years, that Jamaica don't need a miracle for our economy to boom, to change. Like we just need discipline. And once, just imagine 50% of the country. When I went to the money Money Expo in New Kingston about 20 years ago, when I heard it the first time. And when I heard it, I nearly dropped out of my chair. Like no country in the world can survive with 50% of people them not pay tax. And since then, like I've seen people, and the thing is like, it's not because Jamaicans are worse than anybody else, because the same people in Jamaica will now pay tax, and pay tax in Canada, and pay tax in America, and then pay tax in the UK. So that is the thing. If the government can fix the tax system and make sure that even the barber, them, the mechanic, everybody pay tax, Jamaica can be the next Singapore. Easy. We have the skills,
and
we have everything.
And that is where they'll lose a lot of their voting base, because it's the government, the politician who have spoiled the people of Jamaica, turn them into dependent rather than having them being independent. And so for them now, after you'd have cultivate that mindset where they become dependent on government for everything. Because you're even, using the devastation. A lot of them is like they're not getting up and doing anything to help themselves until the government come. They're not lifting a finger until the government come and start it. So the government has to be blamed.
I don't know, the opposition to like the people of Jamaica, because when I sit down and listen to the conversation with the hurricane, right? When I listen to the whole conversation, like sometimes I have to scratch my head and say, like, is this a real conversation? Because just look at this year. You don't even have to go back far. The California fire. In Canada, like the amount of land that burned in Canada would be like the size of Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines put together, burned down in Canada. The government did not put back those people in houses. Like insurance have to cover it, and the government operate like in Canada and America. Like they try and help the vulnerable, older people, like single mothers and stuff like that. But I get a sense, listening to the argument in Jamaica since the hurricane, is that everybody in a Westmoreland to get a brand new house, and if they don't get it, the government fail. You know? So I don't understand it.
It's a dependency culture. You depend on the government. And as you mentioned, fire. Don't forget Hawaii. And the only thing some of those people who suffered get was $750.
Yeah. Only in Jamaica they expect to get back everything.
Yeah.
Like you don't like.
Yeah, man.
And the thing is too, like what I said to people, when you're grading the government on this thing, you have to, in order for you to say them that the government failed, you have to look at Hurricane Gilbert and Hurricane Ivan. Hurricane Gilbert, when Hurricane Gilbert blew, the American military came down, and I was about 12 or 14 at the time, and I think like some of the things that the people might get now in a care package, like in a Gilbert, I would love some of those things. Like in a Gilbert, we get the, you know, with the military food, them used to come in at them silver thing, like the army food that can last for 100 years, with them send them go to war. Those are what we got as kids in Gilbert. and throw bleach in the water and drink it. Now see people that get bottled water, and people that get And you know, like, and they're saying the government is failing still. I'm like, really? I don't know.
Because of the culture that we cultivated, this dependency culture on government. So government did not go to hospital to deliver. Government never deliver a child at the hospital and they write the government name on the birth certificate. But anything happen, it's government. Everything government. Government is not our parents.
Yeah.
And until you see, and the thing is that, you know, because the politics in Jamaica is built on this kind of a mentality, it is hard for them to try and to remedy the situation. Because if they try it, then they won't be in power, and then
Yeah.
and they love to be in power, so they are going to perpetuate it.
Yeah, I think Jamaicans, even though I see there's a difference, there's a change. I wouldn't say that there's not a change, there's a change. But I believe that we need more of a change that people are more educated about. Because in Jamaica, the way I see it, we're voting for like color. You know, it's not like in America where when you vote in America, you think about a lot of stuff. You think about abortion, you think about abortion rights, you think about LGBTQ education. If your child is going to think, you think about gun rights, you think about this, you think about a million different stuff. When you're voting in Jamaica, you just think if you're born PMP, you're born JLP. You know, I think about the policy.
Hey, and another thing, I mean, another thing that we're talking about in terms of the human development, human resource, and even this prime minister. Take a leaf out of Michael Manley's book. Michael Manley had the youth service, what Andrew has come up with. Make hard for free that people can go and get certified.
Mm-hmm.
You can become a certified skilled person. So especially young people have no excuse as to why they are not skilled. Because I mean, look here. So as you said, those 3 projects that is going on in Jamaica, each of them are like $1 billion US, you know how much million Jamaican dollar that is? And these people are sitting down and allowing others to come and benefit.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And people don't,
yeah, man.
The thing with people, like, people don't like constructive criticism because, like, every time I talk, like, people say, like, oh, you're a Labourite or whatever. And I'm like, I've never voted for a Labour government. I've only voted for PJ Patterson, and one of the vote them, I regret it. but no, you have to trust me. Like, I keep saying to people, you have to love your country more than how you hate the government. And if a lot of the people on YouTube and on social media that's criticizing the government, if I don't have a problem if you criticize the government today, and then tomorrow you're talking about, you know what? We're in December now, and we are about to experience something that we have not experienced in 40 years. The crime rate is at a low. Like 400 less people are going to lose their life in 2025. And I believe that you can't be a Jamaican, you can't love Jamaica if you criticize the Prime Minister about everything else, but you don't have the decency to point out that 400 less Jamaicans are going to lose their life in 2025. That is just common decency as a Jamaican. You know?
My friend, look here. We're living in a time and an age where, if you notice, good is being called evil and evil is being called good. And for some people, they would rather have, and especially those on social media, they would rather to be on social media, bigging up the crime rate and the number of our Jamaicans who have lost their lives, rather than celebrating the fact that a lot of Jamaicans will be spending Christmas with their family alive and well. So certain things are just not surprising.
Yeah.
And when some people, when they are just negative, when some people are just negative and they only can operate on negative, then it's going to be hard to get them to see the positive. And the next thing, if it is not their party doing it, then no matter what, even if the other party find cure for cancer tomorrow, if it's not their party that find it, to them, there's no cure.
Yeah,
and that's just how some people are.
yeah, and that is sad because, like as I said, like I've always said it for years, Jamaica, people say Jamaica have this problem, that problem. I say Jamaica, the only problem is Jamaica have is the crime. Because like I know, like I've talked to probably about 20, 25 people in the last 2 to 3 years. I know I'm a friend that went to Florida. Just imagine you're Jamaican and you're gone to Florida to retire. And when I say like why Florida, because Jamaica took the crime. I know people in Ghana, people gone to Ghana to retire, people gone to in a couple of African countries, a lot of Jamaicans are going to Africa to retire now. Jamaicans that work in Canada and America. Zimbabwe, I know quite a few Jamaicans in Zimbabwe, Jamaicans in Ethiopia, in Ghana, even some of the other Spanish-speaking country, not Puerto Rico, couple of those other countries.
Dominican Republic?
Not Dominican Republic.
Not
No, not Dominican, because Dominican Republic is bad too. There's a lot of violence in Dominican Republic too. But yeah, quite a few of the Spanish countries in Latin America, I see Jamaicans who don't even speak Spanish can retire because they say they don't want to go back to Jamaica because of the crime. So if Jamaica, like, trust me, like there are more millionaire Jamaicans outside in a US dollar me talk outside of Jamaica than inside Jamaica. And if all of the millionaire they go back, yeah, that's all it is.
That been happening for the economy. But you remember back in the 1980s when you had this rush of British people coming back to Jamaica to live, return residents.
Yeah. That was still going on up until the other day. Like every time I go to Mandeville, I wonder for Jamaica with it. Like I see the big house of Mandeville, I see people out. Like because the thing is, okay, so like back in the 80s and the 2000s or 90s or whatever, like we grew up at Kingston and normally in them days there, you grew up at Kingston, you think Kingston are foreign. And I remember the first time I go Mandeville, I see people use remote to open gates. Yeah. So I've never seen something at Kingston yet. So yeah, but
man, the standard of living in Jamaica, man, at one point, and especially back in the 80s or coming over into the early 90s, Jamaica was a place to be. And then again, back then, you remember a lot of Jamaican owned businesses and banks and all of them stuff, allowing Jamaican access to capital to do business and all of them stuff. I mean, look here. Sometimes when I look back at my country, man, it grieves my heart. But Jamaica is still a beautiful place, still a beautiful country. The people, I mean, with foreigners, Jamaicans are kind to foreigners, especially when it comes to the tourists, because regardless of how you hear the crime going on, it's hard to hear that a tourist is involved in any robbery or anything like that.
Yeah.
So Jamaican people are still loving and caring people. And let me tell you something what I realize. Because where I am right now, it's a very small country and live on an island. The Jamaicans that you come here and you meet, more than likely if you're in Jamaica, you would not meet them. But when you meet them, it's like these people you would have known them from birth, and you and them would have lived in the same community. That's the kind of feeling you get when you're here. Yeah. Outside of Jamaica. And sometimes you ask, so why we can't be like this when we're in our own country?
But you know one thing too, like I tell people, like I didn't realize that I was Jamaican until I left Jamaica. And I remember leaving Jamaica and for the first time and going overseas and see the way of people, the treatment that you get as a Jamaican, like I couldn't believe. So, people give you certain level of ratings.
Yes, man. First thing I'm gonna say, boy, if you're yardy, and look here. But we need to come together as a people, man. We need to stop allow these people to use parties and colors to divide us, because that's how they conquer us, and that's how they continue to rule us.
Yeah. All right. So it was nice talking to you. So
it was a real pleasure talking to you, man.
yeah, man. All right. So
Yeah,
we'll catch up again.
So all the best.
All right.
And so tell me something. You and your family made it all right through the hurricane, though.
No, we're not in Jamaica. We're not in Jamaica.
Okay. So how family back in Jamaica was okay?
Yeah, man. Just a little leak and stuff, light gone, but no roof no come off or anything. So we give thanks.
Yeah, man. So all the best for the season, man.
Yeah, man.
Best
All
of
right.
wishes.
All right.
All right. Cool. Yeah.
Beyond 2 years.
All right, member,
So
hold
on
on a
what
moment.
basis
Member-
did the finance ministry take a decision to lend the 150 million?
Member, hold on a minute, please.
To be very clear in relation to reiterating some of the information that I've already stated, just out of an abundance of caution, and to two specific MPs in Westmoreland who came to, one went on social media and hit out against the JPS loan, and one in Parliament yesterday who grilled the Minister of Finance about the prudence of this. Yet still, one of them on social media up to recently was crying crocodile tears in one and then fighting against it. I want to leave this with you. As usual, I like to go to my Oxford dictionary. And I Google crocodile tears. Tears are expressions of sorrow that are insincere. The origin, mid-16th century, said to be named from a belief that crocodile wept while devouring or luring their prey. That is the one on social media. The one yesterday that called Crying Parliament last week. We have a thing called dry cry. I looked it up and it said dry cry meaning in Jamaica. In Jamaican patois, dry cry often refers to pretending to cry or shedding fake tears to gain sympathy, attention, or manipulate a situation. It implies a false sense. It implies a false display of sadness without being genuine. Outlining the decision of the government to lend the JPS 150 million US dollars in relation to restoration, early restoration. This came on the basis that their projections were taking us to April, May, and possibly June 2026, based on their current cash flow. The loan was a decision recommended and supported by the Ministry of Finance and approved by Cabinet to lend the JPS the $150 million specifically to fast-track restoration, moving us from 82%, where we are now, to 90% by Christmas, New Year, and 100% by end of January. That would mean taking on 300 additional linesmen on top of the 170 that are here now. Without that money, the 170 linesmen would have been decommissioned this week, meaning that they would be decommissioned and have to leave because there would be no funding to pay them. So the $150 million goes towards keeping those 170 linesmen in Jamaica and adding another 300 linesmen. That comes with the equipment, the trucks, and all that you see currently on the road now that 170 linesmen are doing. That decision was made to get us out of having to give any sort of extension on the existing license. This minister and this government made a commitment to the people of Jamaica that the license that expired in 2027 would not be renewed on the same terms, which we all know and agree that the license is 25 years old. It was flawed from day one, and it is even more flawed based on the time that has elapsed and what the energy landscape does now. So in order for us not to grant the 15 years that was asked for by JPS and the 8 to 10 years that the multilaterals asked for to fund the JPS, we decided to be a responsible, caring government and lend the $150 million for 5 years with simple terms. 5.5%, which is very concessionary because we don't want a pass-through for increased bills because of interest rates. So we were mindful of that. It allows us to continue on the track to negotiate a new license with JPS or with whoever. So we have separated Melissa from what we were on track to do pre-Melissa. And I can say to you that in 2 years, if the JPS is successful in negotiating a new license, they'll be able to raise capital and repay the $150 million. If they don't, the government has already indicated in June of this year, rather than giving them an automatic 10-year additional extension for non-response by the government, we indicated to them that we were not prepared to renew the license on the same terms, and therefore, if necessary, we will be prepared to acquire the assets of the JPS. So our $150 million is secured either way. Jamaica, the simple thing would be a decision that would be taken on your behalf. Grant a 15-year extension and continue to suffer under the current license for 15 more years, or lend JPS $150 million. Take the argument of extension out and proceed to restore electricity in the shortest possible time. There was a definitive opposition by the opposition of releasing $150 million without knowing where the balance of money was coming from. The original estimate was $480 to $600 million. It has been revised down to $350 to $400 million. The $150 billion that we are lending them was not picked out of a hat. They told us they needed $75 million a month for 2 months to bring us full restoration. We have had a discussion about $150 million. The JPS is owned majority privately, so the government has no obligation to fund a private entity. We did so in this case because of the benefits, and therefore we have nothing in front of us either to qualify at this stage the amount or the final assessment of the amount of money that Melissa has caused damage to JPS. We don't have it from the JPS and I don't have it from the OUR. So I can't speak to any other figure other than what is out there. Secondly, there's no proposal in front of us for any additional money outside of the $150 million. So I want to make that very, very clear. Also, the $50 million through the Emergency Disaster Fund, that is a separate disbursement by the OUR, which is entitled to JPS in a disaster once they can quantify and qualify and justify their claim. 4 months on top of 1 month already without electricity. 4 more months, meaning 5 to possibly 6 months, is unbearable for the people, and it is absolutely unacceptable for our government in a recovery mode. Fast-track recovery and the rebuild process is critical. It affects government and business revenues, JPS's revenue, to enhance their financing ability to continue the work that needs to be done after restoration. It restores jobs, creates new jobs and business opportunities in the most affected areas and across Jamaica. So again, I'm still not quite understanding what the discussion is about in relation to the benefits of $150 million US dollars, 23 billion Jamaican dollars, out of the $6.7 billion that Jamaica will have access to. This is a wise business decision, a wise government decision, and it's a responsible decision that we will not back away from. So I take full responsibility and I have no apologies And I have no explanation because the people who are suffering get it. They know what we are trying to do. And we will continue to do so in the shortest possible time. JPS, as of right now, is at 82%. We are planning to move, as I said before, to 90% over Christmas to New Year and 100% by end of January, early February. I want to give the country the Christmas commitments.